All right, good morning. Um, Doing a song called Starry Night by Chris August. Not because it's August. Um, Song's great song. And I have to eat some crow because I always chastise K-Love and say that they play the same 10 songs and they never play current, more rock music that people listen to. And this song is good. And that's where I heard it. Um, I'll tell you what I like about the song and why I tied it to this scripture about Romans. Um, and it's a little rabbit trail, but it all comes together. Last night I had a dream, or this morning I should say, before I woke up I had this dream, and I don't usually remember my dreams, and I used to say I don't dream, but now I can tell I guess I do. But it was set in this time period, and it was kind of like, you see the movies where in Africa or Latin America you have this dictator that runs the country, and really it's just like martial law. If you don't do what they say, they pretty much shoot you on the spot, and so everybody does what they do out of fear that the enemy's going to kill them or that their neighbors might tell on them. So they do everything they can to look like and act like what the enemy wants them to look like. When they could take a stand, they might, in the enemy's eyes, die for it, but they would be free of his influence. And what's crazy is, if you read the scripture that's posted, we free, heifer. We are free because all of the consequences that could occur if we did what the enemy wants. Because, if there's a war going on, there are two sides, and you on one side. I don't care what you think you are. You might think you're in the middle, in no man's land, or that you haven't made a choice. But you're on one side. Either you're on God's side, or you're His enemy, and you're on the enemy side. And the enemy don't love you. He hates you. I think that's something that I'm understanding more now. You know it, but you don't understand it till you look at your life and you look at the lives of others and see how he hates. He hates so much that he hurts us and he keeps us in fear, and he even, sort of twists us into people we don't want to be. And Jesus came to free us from all of that. Now the scripture says that you still might go through difficult things, but I tie that to this great teaching I've heard. If you ever can find the book or the sermon from Jeff Manion, The Land in Between. It only took 12 days to get from Egypt, slavery, to the dictator, to the enemy, who didn't love them, who was killing their children. It's such a metaphor for the life we live today. It only took 12 days to get from Egypt to the Promised Land if you went straight there. But when the Israelites marched, when they marched out of Egypt, they were idolaters. They knew a land of comfort. The food they wanted, the Nile River Delta, the area where they lived, was rich and fertile. And God marched them into a desert. And He fed them with manna. He only fed them what He wanted them to have. He sort of made them fast from the idols and the comforts and the things that they thought life was supposed to be. And guess what they did? They complained because they were like, maybe we would have been better off back there. Now, two things. I don't believe that God meant for the desert to take 40 years because He wanted a people to be prepared to take the Promised Land and to trust Him. It was all to develop trust in them. I stole that from Jeff Manion. They could have trusted Him after a month. Now, lest we gloat, how do we do in the desert? And how long does it take God to get our attention and to teach us to trust Him and to change, to conform to who He wants us to be, to transform? Because that's what He's about. And if you read in Romans, and I'm kind of going through Romans now, He wants you to conform to have His perspective, to work in His plan, and be a willing participant instead of an obstacle. And I just don't want to be an obstacle to the God of the universe, who could create everything with the Word and can destroy it with the Word. Really been bound by this idea of freedom. I've been enslaved to the idea of freedom, and how if we listen to the enemy, we don't have any of the benefits of the freedom. And that might be a very practical way of looking at our walk. But he uses every tool he can to hold us down. And while we're going to go through seasons and, because that perseverance piece is the piece where we're supposed to have to go through it long enough to realize that we're supposed to rejoice through it. And that's hard. That's the hardest piece for me, because those seasons tend to last quite a while. But if we embrace the idea that God's plan is never for us to go through anything that isn't supposed to be changing us into who he's supposed to be, and that when we submit to that, he really does give us peace. If we believe that, and if we submit to that, it don't take 40 years. That's all I have to say about that. So here's Chris August's Starry Sky, and his is better. This ain't gonna be great, but it will be true, because I do believe that God inspired him to write this song. From the birds that sing in the tallest trees, to the human life of you and me, from the desert sands, to the place we stand, he is God of all, he is everything. Oh, I'm giving my life to the only one who makes the moon reflect the sun. Every starry night, that was his design. I'm giving my life to the only son who was and is yet to come. Let the praises ring, he is everything. Yeah. He is everything. From the autumn leaves that will ride the breeze, to the faith it takes to pray and sing, from the painted sky to my playing field eye, he is God of all, he is everything. I'll do that again. From the autumn leaves that will ride the breeze, to the faith it takes to pray and sing, from the painted sky to my blank field eye, he is God of all, he is everything. I'm giving my life to the only one who makes the moon reflect the sun. Every starry night, that was his design. I'm giving my life to the only son who was and is yet to come. Let the praises ring, 'cause he is everything. He is everything. From the birds that sing in the tallest trees, to the human life of you and me, from these desert sands where we make our stand, he is God of all, he is God of all. Yeah, he is everything.